Welcome to the channel. Take a slow, deep breath and let it go. Allow your body to soften, your thoughts to settle. There's nothing you need to do right now, just listen. Let the words gently flow through you, absorbing even as sleep begins to wash over you. And when you awaken, you may find something within you has quietly shifted. A little more clarity, a little more wisdom. Now, let us begin tonight's journey. How to stay calm in a world that profits from your panic. A personal awakening on emotional self-regulation in a culture addicted to outrage. The gentle revolution within. There's a quiet revolution happening, and it begins in the space between your thoughts and your reactions. In a world that seems to spin faster each day, where notifications demand immediate attention and headlines scream for your emotional energy, learning to stay calm isn't just a luxury. It's an act of rebellion. This isn't another productivity hack or a quick fix for stress. This is an invitation to reclaim your inner sanctuary, to understand the forces that profit from your panic, and to cultivate the gentle strength that comes from true emotional sovereignty. Chapter 1. The architecture of modern anxiety. The invisible machinery. Picture this. You wake up, and before your feet touch the floor, your phone is in your hand. Within minutes, you've consumed a breakfast of breaking news, social media updates, and urgent notifications. Your nervous system, designed for a much simpler world, begins its daily dance with overstimulation. This isn't your fault. You're navigating a landscape that didn't exist for 99% of human history, a world where algorithms study your every click, where your attention has become currency, and where keeping you slightly on edge has become a business model. The attention economy operates on a simple principle. Calm people don't click as much. Peaceful minds don't consume as voraciously. Content people don't share as compulsively. And so, like a gentle stream being redirected through turbulent channels, your natural state of equilibrium is constantly disrupted by forces that benefit from your emotional volatility. The neuroscience of manufactured urgency. Dr. Anna Lembicki, in her research on dopamine and digital addiction, reveals how our brains have become hijacked by the very tools meant to serve us. Each notification, each inflammatory headline, each perfectly curated social media post triggers a microdose of stress hormones. Your amygdala, that ancient alarm system, can't distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and a Twitter notification. Both register as potential threats, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Over time, this creates what researchers call chronic stress arousal, a state where calm becomes foreign and anxiety feels normal. But here's the beautiful truth. Awareness is the first step to freedom. A personal awakening, my own journey. From chaos to calm. I remember the exact moment I realized I'd become addicted to my own anxiety. It was a Tuesday morning, and I found myself refreshing news websites compulsively, my heart racing with each new headline. I was searching for something, information, validation, connection, but finding only more reasons to worry. I had become a participant in what I now call anxiety entertainment. The consumption of content designed to keep me in a heightened emotional state. I was, without realizing it, paying attention merchants with my peace of mind. The turning point came when I noticed my body's wisdom speaking louder than my mind's chatter. My shoulders were permanently hunched, my jaw constantly clenched, my breathing shallow and rapid. My body was trying to tell me something my mind hadn't yet grasped. I was living in a state of perpetual fight or flight. Chapter 2. Understanding the ecosystem of outrage. The economics of emotional volatility. To stay calm in this world, we must first understand the forces working against our peace. The modern media landscape operates on an engagement model that prioritizes intensity over truth, reaction over reflection. Consider the algorithm, a digital intelligence trained to predict and amplify whatever keeps you scrolling. It doesn't care about your well-being. It cares about your engagement. And the fastest way to engagement is through the primitive parts of your brain: fear, anger, outrage, desire. This creates what media theorist Douglas Rushkoff calls present shock, a state where we're constantly reacting to now, never given time to process, reflect, or find our center. The addiction model of information consumption. Social media platforms employ the same psychological techniques used in casinos: variable reward schedules, intermittent reinforcement, and the promise of the next dopamine hit keep us coming back. But unlike gambling, where we might lose money, here we're losing something far more precious: our capacity for sustained attention and inner peace. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. Each check is a micro-interruption of whatever calm or focus we might have been cultivating. The collective nervous system. We're not just dealing with individual anxiety anymore. We're participating in a collective nervous system that's perpetually activated. Social media creates what psychologists call emotional contagion, the tendency for emotions to spread through networks like viruses. When your feed is full of outrage posts, your nervous system begins to mirror that outrage. When everyone around you seems anxious, anxiety becomes the air you breathe. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Mirror neurons in our brains are designed to help us attune to our social environment. In a chronically stressed environment, this natural capacity becomes a source of suffering. Chapter 3. The biochemistry of calm. Your body's natural pharmacy. Within you lies a sophisticated pharmacy capable of producing every mood-altering substance you could ever need: serotonin for contentment, dopamine for motivation, oxytocin for connection, GABA for relaxation, endorphins for joy. The key is learning to activate these natural systems rather than relying on external stimulation. When you're in a state of chronic stress, this internal pharmacy gets hijacked. Your body becomes so focused on producing stress hormones that it forgets how to make the chemicals of well-being. But here's the profound truth: you can retrain the system. The parasympathetic pathway to peace. Your nervous system has two primary modes: sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, rest and digest. Most of us spend our days stuck in sympathetic activation, which is why learning to access the parasympathetic state is crucial. The beautiful thing about the parasympathetic nervous system is that it can be activated voluntarily through specific practices. Breathing. Your breath is the only automatic function you can consciously control. When you breathe deeply and slowly, you send a direct signal to your brain that you're safe. The 4-7-8 breath: inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, is particularly powerful for activating the parasympathetic response. Movement. Gentle, rhythmic movement, walking, swimming, stretching, helps metabolize stress hormones and produces endorphins. The key is movement that feels good, not punishing or goal-oriented. Connection. Authentic human connection triggers the release of oxytocin, which naturally calms the nervous system. Even a warm hug or a genuine conversation can shift your biochemistry. The gut-brain highway. Recent research reveals that 90% of serotonin is produced in your gut, not your brain. Your digestive system contains more neurons than your spinal cord and is often called the second brain. This means that what you eat directly affects your emotional state. Foods that support calm include complex carbohydrates that stabilize blood sugar, omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation, fermented foods that support gut bacteria, magnesium-rich foods that relax the nervous system. The inverse is also true. Processed foods, excess caffeine, and sugar can create biochemical anxiety, making it harder to maintain emotional equilibrium regardless of your mental practices. Chapter 4. The Art of Attention Sovereignty. Reclaiming your mental real estate. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and like any resource, it can be stewarded wisely or squandered carelessly. In a world designed to capture and monetize your attention, learning to direct it consciously becomes an act of self-liberation. Consider your mind like a garden. Every thought you entertain, every piece of content you consume, every conversation you engage in is like planting a seed. What kind of garden do you want to cultivate? One filled with the weeds of worry and the thorns of outrage, or one growing the flowers of peace and the fruits of wisdom, the practice of selective attention? This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or disconnected from the world's challenges. Rather, it means developing the discernment to know what deserves your emotional energy and what doesn't. Not every crisis requires your panic. Not every injustice demands your outrage. Not every problem needs your immediate attention. The 24-hour rule. Before reacting to any emotionally charged content, wait 24 hours. Notice how often the initial urgency fades, how frequently the breaking news becomes irrelevant, how many crises resolve themselves without your intervention. The circle of influence. Meditation. Visualize 3 concentric circles. The innermost circle contains what you can directly control, your thoughts, reactions, choices. The middle circle contains what you can influence, your relationships, immediate community, work environment. The outer circle contains what you cannot control, global events, other people's choices, economic systems. Practice spending your emotional energy only on the inner 2 circles. Digital boundaries as sacred practices. Creating boundaries with technology isn't about becoming a Luddite. It's about approaching digital tools with the same mindfulness you'd bring to any powerful force in your life. Sacred mornings. Protect the first hour of your day from digital input. Use this time for reflection, movement, or simply being present with yourself. Your morning mental state sets the tone for your entire day. New Sabbaths designate specific times for consuming news and information rather than allowing it to interrupt your day randomly. Many people find that checking news once in the evening is sufficient to stay informed without staying agitated. The phone bedroom. Ban. Keep your phone out of your bedroom. The last thing you see before sleep and the first thing you see upon waking should not be a screen designed to capture your attention. Chapter 5. The wisdom of response versus reaction. The sacred pause. Between stimulus and response lies a sacred space. A pause where your freedom lives. In that pause, you can choose how to respond rather than simply reacting from your conditioning. This pause might last a fraction of a second or several minutes, but learning to access it is perhaps the most important skill you can develop. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. This choosing happens in the pause." The physiology of the pause. When you're triggered, your body floods with stress hormones within milliseconds. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your thinking becomes narrow and reactive. But here's what's remarkable. You can interrupt this cascade if you catch it early enough. The moment you notice activation, whether it's from a provocative headline, an inflammatory comment, or a stressful situation, you can 1. Name it. I notice I'm feeling triggered, /angry, /anxious. 2. Breathe. Take 3 conscious breaths, making the exhale longer than the inhale. 3. Feel. Place your hand on your heart and notice the physical sensations. 4. Choose. Ask yourself, how do I want to respond from my wisest, calmest self? Stories of transformation, learning to respond. Sarah's story. Sarah used to check Twitter first thing every morning, often becoming enraged by political posts before she'd even had coffee. She noticed this pattern was starting her days in a state of agitation that lasted hours. She began keeping a journal by her bed instead, writing 3 things she was grateful for before touching her phone. This simple shift changed not just her mornings, but her entire relationship with social media. Marcus's story. Marcus, a busy executive, found himself constantly reacting to urgent emails, creating a culture of reactivity in his team. He instituted a practice of waiting 5 minutes before responding to any email that triggered an emotional response. He found that most urgent matters weren't actually urgent, and his more thoughtful responses improved both his relationships and his decision-making. The ripple effect of calm. When you choose response over reaction, you're not just changing your own experience. You're influencing the entire system around you. Calm is contagious. When you respond to provocation with presence, to anger with understanding, to chaos with centeredness, you give others permission to do the same. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. True strength often looks like softness. True power often appears as presence rather than force. Chapter 6, Cultivating Inner Weather Systems. Understanding your emotional climate. Just as you wouldn't expect the weather to be sunny every day, you don't need to expect your emotional state to be consistently peaceful. Emotions, like weather systems, are natural phenomena that arise, peak, and pass through your awareness. The problem isn't having difficult emotions. It's when we resist them or identify with them completely. When you can observe your emotions with the same interested detachment, you might watch clouds moving across the sky. They lose their power to control you. The practice of emotional witnessing. Morning check-ins. Each morning, take a moment to notice your emotional weather. Are you feeling stormy? Partly cloudy? Bright and clear? Don't try to change it, simply acknowledge it. This builds emotional awareness and prevents you from being blindsided by your own feelings. The rain technique. When difficult emotions arise, practice rain. Recognize. What am I feeling right now? Allow. Can I let this feeling be here without fighting it? Investigate. Where do I feel this in my body? What does it need? Nurture. What kind, loving words would I offer to a friend experiencing this? Creating emotional resilience. Resilience isn't about avoiding difficult emotions or bouncing back quickly from setbacks. True resilience is your capacity to remain present and responsive even when life becomes challenging. The container practice. Visualize your awareness as a vast, spacious container, like the sky itself. Any emotion, no matter how intense, is like weather moving through this sky. The sky is never damaged by the weather it contains. It simply provides space for all weather to arise and pass away. Somatic resources. Your body holds wisdom about regulation that your mind often misses. Notice what helps your nervous system settle. The feeling of your feet on the ground, the rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of water or music, the texture of fabric or natural materials. Chapter 7. The Ecology of Influence. Curating your information and diet. Just as you're mindful about what you put in your body, consider being equally conscious about what you feed your mind. Your information diet directly impacts your emotional state, your worldview, and your capacity for peace. Quality over quantity. Instead of consuming information constantly, choose fewer, higher quality sources. Read books instead of tweets. Choose long-form journalism over clickbait headlines. Seek out voices that inform rather than inflame. Balanced perspectives. Actively seek out viewpoints that challenge your assumptions without attacking your values. This builds cognitive flexibility and reduces the rigidity that leads to reactive thinking. Solutions-focused content. When you do consume news or information about problems, balance it with content about solutions, innovations, and positive developments. This maintains your sense of agency and hope. The power of positive information contagion. Gratitude networks. Share appreciation rather than complaints on social media. Notice how this shifts not only your feed, but your entire experience of the platform. Constructive discourse. When engaging in discussions about challenging topics, model the kind of conversation you want to see. Ask questions instead of making statements. Listen to understand rather than to be right. Celebration culture. Actively celebrate others' successes, milestones, and positive news. This creates an ecosystem of mutual support rather than competition and comparison. Chapter 8. The practices of daily calm. Morning rituals for nervous system regulation. How you begin your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Instead of immediately jumping into the day's demands, create a bridge between sleep and activity. The 5-5-5 practice. 5 minutes of gratitude, writing, or mental acknowledgement. 5 minutes of movement, stretching, walking, and dancing. 5 minutes of stillness, meditation, breathing, or simply sitting quietly. Intentional awakening. Before getting out of bed, take 3 conscious breaths and set an intention for how you want to move through your day. This might be with patience, with curiosity, or with kindness. Micro practices for macro change. You don't need hours of meditation to regulate your nervous system. Small, consistent practices throughout the day can be more effective than longer, irregular ones. The 60-second reset. 20 seconds to notice your breath. 20 seconds to relax your body from head to toe. 20 seconds to set an intention for the next hour. Transition rituals. Create brief rituals to mark transitions in your day, between work and home, before meals, after difficult conversations. These might be as simple as washing your hands mindfully or taking 3 deep breaths. Evening integration. Before sleep, spend a few minutes reviewing your day with curiosity rather than judgment. What moments brought you peace? When did you react versus respond? What can you appreciate about how you showed up? The art of saying no. In a culture of constant availability and endless opportunities, saying no becomes a spiritual practice. Every yes to one thing is an implicit no to something else. When you say yes to activities, relationships, or commitments that drain your energy, you're saying no to your own peace and well-being. The energy audit. Regularly assess your commitments, relationships, and activities. Which ones give you energy? Which ones deplete you? Which ones align with your values and which ones you've outgrown? Graceful boundaries. Learn to say no with kindness, but without over-explanation. That doesn't work for me, or I'm not available for that, are complete sentences. Chapter 9. Community and connection in chaotic times. Finding your calm tribe. You become who you spend time with. In a world full of anxiety and reactivity, intentionally surrounding yourself with people who value presence and peace becomes crucial for your own emotional regulation. Quality connections. Prioritize relationships that leave you feeling more yourself rather than less. Notice which people in your life support your calm and which ones activate your stress responses. Difficult relationships. You can't control other people's emotional states, but you can control how much of their chaos you absorb. Learn to be compassionate without being permeable. Community practices. Engage in activities that naturally regulate the nervous system and build connection. Sharing meals, walking in nature, creating art, making music, or simply sitting together in comfortable silence. The art of calm communication. Listen to understand. Most conflicts escalate because people don't feel heard. Practice listening not to formulate your response, but to truly understand the other person's experience. Speak from center. Before speaking in emotionally charged situations, take a breath and ask yourself, what wants to be said through me right now? This helps you speak from wisdom rather than reactivity. The gift of presence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer someone is your calm, non-judgmental presence. You don't need to fix, advise, or solve. Simply being fully present is often enough. Chapter 10. The larger perspective. Calm as social justice. Your peace as a political act. In a world that profits from your panic, choosing calm becomes a radical act. Your nervous system regulation isn't just personal healing, it's social healing. When you refuse to participate in the culture of outrage, you starve the systems that depend on emotional volatility. Modeling possibility. Every moment you choose presence over panic, response over reaction, you demonstrate that another way is possible. You become a lighthouse for others, navigating their own storms. Sustainable activism. If you care about creating positive change in the world, learning to stay calm isn't opting out, it's opting in more skillfully. Burnout serves no one. Sustainable change requires sustainable change makers. The ripple effects of individual calm. In families. When one person in a family system learns to regulate their nervous system, it affects everyone. Children especially learn emotional regulation through co-regulation with calm adults. In workplaces, organizations with leaders who can remain centered under pressure create cultures of psychological safety and innovation rather than reactive crisis management. In communities, neighborhoods, schools, and social groups all benefit from having members who can maintain perspective and presence during challenging times. Chapter 11. Advanced Practices for Emotional Mastery. Working with intense emotions. As you develop your capacity for calm, you'll inevitably encounter emotions that feel too big for your container. This is normal and even necessary for growth. The goal isn't to never feel intensely, but to develop the capacity to be present with intensity without being overwhelmed by it. The expansion practice. When you feel an emotion that seems overwhelming, instead of contracting around it, practice expanding your awareness to include it. Imagine your consciousness as a vast sky that can hold any weather system without being disturbed by it. Transmutation versus suppression. Suppression pushes emotions down where they often emerge, later as physical symptoms or explosive reactions. Transmutation involves feeling the emotion fully, while choosing how to express or channel its energy constructively. The shadow of spiritual bypassing. In the pursuit of calm, there's a danger of what psychologists call spiritual bypassing, using spiritual practices or positive thinking to avoid dealing with difficult emotions or situations that require action. True emotional mastery includes the capacity for appropriate anger, healthy boundaries, and engaged responses to injustice. The goal is not to become emotionally flat, but to have emotional choice and responsiveness rather than reactivity. Healthy anger. Anger, when felt and expressed appropriately, is often information about boundary violations or injustices that need addressing. The key is feeling your anger without letting it control your actions. Sacred activism. You can be both spiritually centered and socially engaged. In fact, the world needs people who can act from a place of centered clarity rather than reactive emotionality. Chapter 12. The neuroplasticity of peace. Rewiring your default settings. Your brain has an incredible capacity for change throughout your lifetime. Every time you choose calm over chaos, presence over panic, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways. What starts as a conscious choice eventually becomes an automatic response. The 21-7 rule. Neuroscientists suggest it takes about 21 days to form a new neural pathway, and about 7 times of repetition to make it stronger than the old pathway. This means that any practice you do consistently for 3 weeks begins to change your brain's default patterns. Meditation and brain structure. Regular meditation practice has been shown to increase gray matter in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation, while decreasing activity in the amygdala, fear center. You're literally growing your capacity for calm. The compound interest of small practices. Just as money compounds over time with consistent investment, small daily practices of calm compound into profound life changes. The person who meditates for 5 minutes daily for a year experiences more transformation than someone who meditates for an hour once a month. Micro habits. Start with practices so small they seem almost silly. 3 conscious breaths, 1 minute of gratitude, 30 seconds of body awareness. The key is consistency, not intensity. Habit stacking. Attach new calming practices to existing habits. Breathe deeply while your coffee brews. Practice gratitude while brushing your teeth. Stretch while watching TV. Chapter 13. Seasonal rhythms and natural regulation. Aligning with natural cycles. Your nervous system evolved in harmony with natural rhythms. Daily cycles of light and dark, seasonal changes, lunar phases. Modern life often disconnects us from these rhythms, contributing to dysregulation and anxiety. Circadian rhythm support. Expose yourself to natural light first thing in the morning. Reduce artificial light exposure in the evening. Maintain consistent sleep and wake times. Eat your largest meals during daylight hours. Seasonal attunement. Allow your energy and activities to shift with the seasons. Winter is naturally a time for rest and reflection, while summer supports more active engagement. Fighting these natural rhythms creates unnecessary stress. The healing power of nature. Nature is one of the most powerful regulators of the human nervous system. Just 20 minutes in a natural setting can significantly reduce cortisol levels and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Forest bathing. The Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, doesn't require hiking or exercising, simply being present in nature with awareness and intention. Water therapy. The sound and presence of water, whether ocean waves, flowing streams, or even a fountain, naturally calms the nervous system. This is why many meditation apps include water sounds. Earthing. Direct physical contact with the earth. Walking barefoot, gardening, lying on grass. Has been shown to reduce inflammation and stress hormones, while improving sleep and mood. Chapter 14. The technology of inner peace. Ancient wisdom for modern challenges. The challenges we face today are unprecedented, but the human capacity for inner peace is ancient and universal. Every spiritual tradition offers practices for cultivating calm in the midst of chaos. Mindfulness meditation. The practice of observing your thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. Start with just 5 minutes daily, focusing on your breath or body sensations. Loving kindness practice. Extending goodwill toward yourself and others, starting with easy recipients and gradually including difficult people and situations. This practice literally rewires your brain for connection rather than separation. Contemplative practices. Reading poetry, sacred texts, or inspiring writings slowly and meditatively, allowing the words to penetrate beyond intellectual understanding into felt experience. Creating sacred space. Your physical environment significantly impacts your nervous system. Creating spaces that support calm becomes an investment in your emotional well-being. Simplicity. Clutter in your physical space often reflects and creates mental clutter. Simplifying your environment can simplify your inner state. Beauty. Surrounding yourself with objects, colors, and textures that please your senses signals safety to your nervous system and supports natural regulation. Ritual objects. Having specific items associated with your calming practices, a special cushion, a meaningful image, a candle, helps train your nervous system to shift states more quickly. Chapter 15. Integration in daily life, from practice to embodiment. The ultimate goal isn't to be calm only during your meditation practice or when life is easy. True mastery means maintaining your center even when life becomes challenging, staying responsive rather than reactive, regardless of external circumstances. The 3-breath reset. In any situation that triggers stress or reactivity, take 3 conscious breaths before responding. This simple practice can prevent countless unnecessary conflicts and poor decisions. The daily review. Each evening, reflect on moments when you stayed calm and moments when you became reactive. Approach this with curiosity rather than judgment, seeing each experience as information for growth. Progressive challenges. As your capacity for calm grows, life will likely present you with situations that stretch your abilities. View these as opportunities to deepen your practice rather than evidence that you're failing. Maintaining practice through difficulty. There will be times when maintaining your practices feels impossible, during illness, major life changes, or global crises. These are precisely the times when your practices matter most, though they may need to be adapted. Emergency protocols. Have simplified versions of your practices for difficult times. If you can't meditate for 20 minutes, can you take 3 conscious breaths? If you can't journal, can you think 1 grateful thought? Community support. Don't try to maintain your calm alone. Having friends, family, or community members who support your practice makes it sustainable through challenging periods. Self-compassion. The times when you lose your center, react poorly, or abandon your practices are opportunities for self-compassion, not self-judgment. How you treat yourself in moments of failure determines whether you grow stronger or give up entirely. Conclusion. The quiet revolution. As we reach the end of this exploration together, take a moment to notice how you feel right now. Has something shifted in the space between your thoughts? Do you sense perhaps a little more room to breathe? The journey toward calm in a chaotic world isn't a destination you arrive at once and remain forever. It's a daily choice, a moment-by-moment practice of remembering who you are beneath the noise. Every time you pause instead of react, every breath you take consciously, every moment you choose presence over panic, you're participating in a quiet revolution. This revolution doesn't require protests or proclamations. It happens in the sacred space between stimulus and response, in the decision to see the news as information rather than entertainment, in the choice to speak from center rather than react from trigger. You are not powerless in the face of a world designed to keep you agitated. You have within you an unshakable center, a source of peace that external circumstances cannot touch. This isn't naive optimism. It's the most practical wisdom available to humans navigating a complex world. The systems that profit from your panic are powerful, but they are not more powerful than your capacity to choose your response. Every moment you reclaim your calm, you withdraw your energy from the machinery of manufactured crisis and invest it in the possibility of genuine peace. Your nervous system regulation is not selfish self-care. It's a gift to everyone whose life you touch. Your children learn emotional regulation by witnessing yours. Your colleagues experience more safety in your presence. Your community benefits from having one more person who can think clearly under pressure. The future doesn't need more people who are informed about everything and overwhelmed by it all. The future needs people who can stay present, think clearly, and act wisely regardless of external circumstances. It needs people who remember that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of equanimity in the midst of it. As you close this reading and return to your life, carry with you the remembrance that calm is your birthright. In a world that profits from your panic, your peace becomes both a rebellion and a healing. Your regulation becomes a gift, not only to yourself, but to the collective nervous system of humanity itself. The quiet revolution begins with you, in this moment, with your next breath. Welcome to the resistance. Welcome home to yourself. In the midst of winter, I found there was, within me, an invincible summer, and that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. Albert Camus. Closing reflection. Take a moment now to simply be. No action required, No information to process, no decision to make. Just this, the awareness that you are here, breathing, alive, incapable of choosing peace in any moment. This capacity has been with you all along. It is with you now. It will be with you tomorrow and in all the tomorrows that follow. Trust it, nurture it, share it. The world needs your calm.